Good morning. Welcome back to Who Am I? A show that asks the question every day, who am I? Who am I? And the reference is source energy. Who am I in reference to source energy? There's a reason we ask this question. It's twofold. The first one is more esoteric. It's that when we know who we are, we get along better. We do better in this world. We act more appropriately. We get along with one another. We can orchestrate our own lives more effectively, more efficiently. Efficiently as in going where we want to go directly. That's the first reason. The second reason is I believe that when we understand source energy, we will plug our own technology into source energy. We actually do not have to wait for clean fusion in order to have some form of energy that is... So this brings me to... I'm not very technologically inclined, particularly, although I'm not stupid. I am capable of working my little studio and doing my little limited stuff that I do on YouTube. I'm sure I could do more than that. But, you know, my graphics and stuff are not particularly... I'm not sure where I was going with this. Oh, yeah, I'm telling you a description of what's in my YouTube video. Of what's in the description of my YouTube video, I have a bunch of links. A bunch of places where you can go and look at stuff that and every day it's the same thing, so my regular listener out there, please forgive me. I'm also practicing my whole presentation, so I do have to keep going over and over and over the same ground, take it backwards and forwards and sideways and upside down as I bring all of these ideas together. What are the ideas? First of all, we're vibrational beings in a vibrational universe. That's not my idea. Tesla thought about it. He thought that. He said, quote from Tesla, if you want to understand this universe, or this world, I'm not sure what he said, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. And that's true. That's what we are. Energy, frequency, and vibration. Everything is a frequency. All is energy. Matter and energy have an equivalency as per even Einstein and his equation. And then everything is vibrational. So in my presentation, I have this place where I bring forward the idea of cymatics, and the only reason I do it is because when you ponder this for a second, it tells you something about our world, our life, and our place in time. It also helps you visualize the fact that we truly are in a vibrational universe. So if you've ever had any trouble imagining that, if you think that the quantum world does not scalarly dovetail in with the cosmological world, you just start looking at it right. Because it absolutely does. They are reflections of one another perfectly and scalar. Here is cymatics, which is the study of the relationship between vibration and form, pioneered by a man named Hans Jenny, who would put a granular medium onto a metal plate, run a frequency through it, and observe that it would go into a pattern. The little grains would all form into coherent patterns. Change the frequency, change the pattern. Now we are in a time of a change of frequency. I'm not sure exactly why. There's cosmological reasons. There's up in the sky, there's cosmological reasons. Down on the planet, there's evolutionary reasons. why we might, pedagogically, this might be the moment where mankind gets past puberty. And finally comes into its full maturity. That place where he knows who he is in this world. And he understands the world around him. Wouldn't that be a great world to live in? Now, the good news is it really helps you if you understand it. And so, although it would be absolutely fabulous if everybody understood this kind of thing generally, whether they do or whether they don't, when you understand it, you can make your life better. And so that's really reason enough for any individual to start paying attention to their own biotechnological design. Who am I? How does it work? What is the medium that I swim in, and how does that work? Because you're actually a field phenomenon. So if you want to flow more satisfyingly, you've got to flow as a field. The whole thing is moving. It's not just you. So go with it. Understand its coherent, inherent pattern and try to flow with it. Don't think that in your little human mind that you are responsible for the whole thing. You have to think it up. You have to, there's so much about this that you actually don't have to do, and the trying to do that is actually getting in your way. If you understood the vibration of it and would follow a feeling instead of a thought, and follow thought, well, you can follow the thoughts, but find the feeling first, and hold on to that feeling, and don't let the feeling go, and let the thoughts continue to come from that frequency, from that pitch of feeling. Don't let the feeling slip and then start taking thoughts from a different feeling. The feeling is the one you should not be letting go of. Your interpretation of the scenery, you don't have to let go of that. Just do it from a vantage point of knowing that you're all right. Because you are all right. Ultimately and fundamentally, you are all right. As I have heard it put, and I believe it, you have to be in the right spirit to actually take this one correctly. But the truth of the matter is that death is perfectly safe. There is nothing going to happen to any of us. We are all dancing and playing in this clay forevermore, doing whatever it is that we want to do, co-creating whatever landscape it is our desire to do so. The way you do it is you focus on the feeling. How do you focus on the feeling? Well, it takes practice, actually, because your focus wants to slip off of that because there's nothing really there. And it wants to go right to the illusion because that's the whole structure of the game. If it wasn't for that, there wouldn't be an illusion. And then this allness that we are a part of could not pretend sometimes to be other than its allness. The darkness that you see is just the light pretending to be dark. The light finds a place where it can stand behind a shadow. But the fact of the matter is the whole thing is always light. The whole thing is, rest assured, love is the bottom line. Safety, togetherness, evolution, expansion, freedom is the fundamental nature of the fundamental field. It can be whatever it wants to be, and those within it can play with the clay that it is as much as they want to. The fact is it's running on desire. If it's all in clear desire, and everybody's just wanting what they need, and needing what they want, and wanting what they need, then it turns into a beautiful flawless, blemishless, natural ecosystem. That's what God creates. When you throw the humans into the mix, there's a funny thing we're doing, and it's causing the different colors and stuff. We can get ourselves twirled up in ourselves, and then our desires are not clear anymore. Our physical brain translates our desires into things like, see, it's the translation of the desire into the physical object that then the physical mind tries to move towards. It translates into what it believes and then moves to whatever. But if it's got it wrong, then the physical brain has mistranslated it, has mistranslated the desire. And now you've got desire equaling somehow the engine that creates the chaos in the world, the damage in the world. And that's how come you have beliefs like in Lucifer, where you sort of feel like the belief is that desire is your dark side. The desire is where the devils play, where the devil plays. Excuse me. And he can always get you by drawing out from your eyes. You know, you get all transfixed and then you tell him what it is that you want. And if it's power or, you know, control or all the stuff, or, you know, to get back at revenge or whatever, it reveals you inside. It shows, are you in alignment or are you not in alignment? Is actually what it shows. But the desire itself is not the problem, people. The desire itself is actually the impulse that you want to follow. It's the wick, it's an impulse, the imp. Isn't it funny? Imp. Think about that word for a minute. Impetus, impulse, imply. There's a lot of places where you see that IMP word. The imp. It's an energy. You can feel it. And that is actually divine. The wick of your desire is a divine spirit that you need to follow. You just would be advised to make sure that when you translate your desire into what you believe in physicality it means and what will satisfy it, because nobody wants anything for any other reason than the fact that they think it will make them feel better. That car is going to make me feel free, you know, or that house is going to make me feel clean finally, or, you know, whatever. It's always, I need to feel better than I feel right now. There's something about my situation that I would like improved, made more efficient, made more conducive to my family, conducive to my neighbors. It's okay to want it to be more, better. And if we were all just incrementally and with faith, with good faith, just going about that as our daily business, what we would have is eventually, it would start happening pretty quickly, actually, a better and better world around us, as each and every one of us just sort of incrementally followed the impulses to make it better as we walked around ourselves. But I'm back to desire. What is desire? Follow your desire. Find your desire. So, in abstract terms, I can tell you what humanity desires. I've written it down. I could probably say it without finding my card, because I haven't looked at my slides in a long time. They're not slides. They're 3x5 and 5x. Hold on. Things are trying to fall off the back side of the desk, and I'm trying to stop them. I lost one. It might be important, but it may not. Anyway, I have not been using my note cards. For the longest time, I've just been winging it. With sort of a jump off the top of the building in faith. I never know what I'm going to be saying here. And quite frankly, at the end of the show, I'm not sure that little I, could tell you everything that I said during the show. I don't even know what happens here. My larger self has a lot to say about who we are, where we are going, how humanity is evolving. So, and it's just me. It's just me saying it. Nobody has to say, "Oh, the sage, the oracle speaketh." Nothing like that. We're very casual here. We're going to take everything I say absolutely casually. My very first admonition to any student I would ever have: please do not believe something just because I say so. Just because I seem to be very convinced myself. Don't believe it yourself until you've filled in what has to be there for it to make sense to you. And if it's not now, it'll be some other time. Until then, I would say put what I have said into that place that all things go. That place where everything goes. Even if you don't understand it, I don't understand it, I don't know where this goes, but I'll just put it in this place where everything goes. And someday it will make sense. So if you cannot believe what it is I'm telling you now, then just stick it in that place where everything goes. And someday you might pull it back out again and go, oh, now that you turn it this angle, I see what she was saying. And she wasn't completely off her rocker. She was off her rocker from the angle I was assigning her. But that wasn't the angle she was looking at it. I see it now. I get it. This is really cool. Look at how all of our vantage points add up to the great almighty vantage point. That's how it all adds in. It all adds in. It doesn't subtract out. Now, having said that, I have spent a lifetime of looking at everything, of adding every single thing into this great big salad bowl that I called myself. And it was having an effect on me, because when you're that objective, you're like pros, cons, like, don't like. It's every single thing that I see. All the stuff I don't like, all the stuff I like, I put it all in there because to me it equals reality. And I was trying to figure out what the whole picture really was. The problem is, although I don't regret that for a second, I know exactly why I was doing it, because we don't know who we are. I could have started the process of just going positive way, way sooner if I was in a more positive world. But I needed to understand my world, my people, because they are the source of my supply chain. I can't just pretend like they don't exist and I can just go live my own thing no matter how insane my neighbors get, you know? So I've been watching, and it'll be interesting to see whether or not it's more of a, Y2K moment. After the election over the next 4 years, what really happens, if and when either, one of two things is going to happen. Either a doddering old idiot propped up by an establishment fat cat Democratic Party who is way too self-satisfied, and they themselves don't understand how high the stakes are. And they've put this guy up there because he's status quo all the way. He's not going to rock any boats. The little boats that he'll rock will be social only. Trying to throw a few $1 trillion towards the young people. That's okay, because that will buy them as voters in the next elections anyway. So we're okay if they do that. We just don't want them rocking the boat when it comes to anything like our energy infrastructure, or our military infrastructure, or any of the great, huge our economic institutions, who are all connected to all of these other systems, structures. We don't want them messing with any of that. And he's probably I don't know. I don't want to. We're all good inside. Let's just put it that way. And we're all playing our roles in the great stage play that's going on, the big drama, the big docudrama thing that has been transpiring. We call it history. We're right smack dab in the middle of it right now. Some big history getting ready to go down. I was saying I was too objective in my observation of the whole world, because you can't build a momentum if you're too objective. Like this, don't like this. You go positive, you go negative. You go yes, you go no. Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. And while it's all very interesting, and what it will give you is it'll cause you to cool your jets. You won't know what to do. So you won't do anything. So all you'll do is sit there and observe the world and get a clearer and clearer view of it. And it's actually not the biggest problem. I mean, it's almost one of my credentials that I have really accomplished nothing in this world. Now, that's not actually true. I have built this very modest little tiny sanctuary over here of my own. My own little home sanctuary is very nice, thank you. It's not super statusy nice, but it's nice. And even people who have money would go, oh, this has a nice feel to it, doesn't it? You know? I'm under $1 million over here. We're not talking anything really schmancy. Although we live in an area where you could easily go over $1 million. What else have I accomplished? That's actually incredibly minor. The thing that I am most proud of is my children. I love them so much. Chokes me up. I couldn't even tell you how much I love them. I love them, and I am so very, very proud of them. But I'm feeling the call in my own life to spread my wings and get bigger than just being a grandma and all that, which I certainly could be. My single daughter certainly could have used more physical help. But I just did not feel, I only feel now what I am inspired to do. I only do what I feel inspired to do. That's what I mean to say. And for some reason, I was not feeling inspired to the raising of children, which I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I also think that she has, in her necessity, has found such a fabulous man, such a fabulous partner in life, and she really needed to find her person. She's never been good at finding her person. She flogs herself too hard, doesn't believe she deserves it. But I think that's changing. And I don't want to talk about anybody specifically anymore, just in case anybody ever listens to this and knows who I'm talking about. And I'm not saying I said anything wrong. I'm just saying it's not anybody else's business. Their business. So I don't want to talk about anybody specifically. I'm talking about who am I? Well, occasionally who am I bleeds in. Who am I, little me, sometimes wants to be heard. Hey, do you know what I feel about all of this? You're always talking about humanity. You're always talking about mankind. You're always talking about us as a species, or us as a biotechnology, or us as a powerful creator. What about me as a small person? At some point, if this show ever gains traction, the world will want to know who I am, because I actually have some ideas about why I think differently. There's a couple of things that happened to me when I was young. I am a unique story. And actually, the thing is every single one of us is a unique story. Each and every one of us is a fabulously unique, complex, epic, huge story, too, by the way. Every one of us has had different parents. Every one of us had different parents. As a matter of fact, my 3 full siblings had completely different parents than the ones that I had, which is kind of funny, you know? It means if it doesn't have to do with the physical beings that gave you parentage, it has to do with your place and time on the grid, how they appeared to you because of who you were. What was playing out in the field at the time that they were your parents was different. Different time, different parents. Different kid, different parents. Every one of us has had, and so perhaps my story eventually will cause you to pause and reflect on your own story as big. What are the points to remember? What matters in your story? And this becomes kind of interesting. What matters in your story, and I think it perhaps literally matters. When I say the word matters, I think it literally, I think it matters. What matters is everything you ever loved. Every place your love ever was, everything your love ever felt like in any place you ever were. And your ability to gather it all back up together, back up to yourself. Go find all those places where you've left yourself in the road back there. Because instead of retrieving the love, you're still feeling that hatred for your ex, you know, or your late spouse or your ex-spouse or whatever. You're still feeling resentment, or you're still overly remembering all the places where they were less than their best. And good for you, just focusing on every place they ever stumbled, focusing on all of their problems, focusing on where they didn't cut it, and leaving your love behind you in the road. In actual fact, if you remember, if you would summon back to yourself the love that you felt for them, you would remember yourself. Now, I know somebody who has a problem with this. She has a problem with sacrificing herself when she does this, because it's so easy for her to give everyone else the benefit of the doubt. She has no problem doing that. The problem she has is doing that and standing up for herself at the same time. How do you love them and not find fault with yourself? She's got it turned around the other way. The trick is loving both you and both them. And if you have to do it one at a time, so be it. Do it. You love yourself, then love them, then put it back together and go, oh, this actually can live in the same universe. You just have to make the universe bigger. The universe is so big that we do not all have to inhabit the same one. My desire to live in a world where we are all, where we're getting along, where it doesn't actually play out as dramatic. I mean, it's going to be dramatic because there are momentums in play that I don't know how to interrupt. And they're still going to build. For now, I have not gotten out ahead of it far enough. If I had been doing this broadcast 5 years ago, then maybe by this time the momentum of this would be such that there would be a storm of coherence, you might say, standing to battle the one of chaos that we might be we're gonna experience some of it. There is going to be a large interruption to the institution that we call government, that is hinged and tied to our material, our not material, but our military systems, and some things that really. Why am I saying what I'm saying? I know that this is my broader overview talking right now. By the way, because if I go into my very specific smaller self, I'm married to an ex-military man, retiree actually, went all the way to retirement, has a pension and all that. He has friends still in the business. He gets the military news all the time. He watches the world, and he sees the reality on the ground of all the misbehaviors and all of the this and that and the other thing, and he knows that. And so he has a hard time imagining the kinds of things I'm imagining. I, on the other hand, happen to know that the entire setup is completely out of alignment, and therefore is not going to stand. Because it can't. It's part of a storm of chaos that will blow. It'll just blow over. It's not going to last. It is not based on who we really are. It's based on a belief that who we really are is destructive assholes that have to be policed, and the world has to be militarized in order for it to be able to run coherently. That's kind of the fundamental belief because of what human beings are. And I will admit that the situation on the ground would appear to support that position. I, however, am going to disagree with that position. I don't actually believe that that's the truth. I think what is happening is that we're all out of alignment, and that's why it looks so bad. If we would understand our own equipment, our own equipment, and get ourselves individually into alignment, first of all, you start standing as an example to your fellow human beings. You teach to the power of your example. And you don't even have to open up your mouth. What's going to happen is, if you're truly onto something, your life will start flowing very nicely indeed. Thank you very much. And as it does so, people will start watching you. They'll be like, oh, what are they doing? What are they doing? Huh, look at how easily that's just flowing to her. Now, I do not have the grand ambitions that I have sort of follow a different tack than what some people's grand ambitions. Some people's grand ambitions involve something like an empire. I want to build an empire. And that's not exactly the empire. That's not what I'm trying to do. I do not want to build an empire. I'm air quoting, but I'm not going to change the picture. The empire that I want to build is the empire of the kingdom of planet Earth, in its glorious, co-creative, cooperative, to the highest degree of win that can be achieved. That place where all of us get what we need. So I've decided to want what I need. And you can embellish those 7 needs so that the wanting of your needs gets really creative and beautiful and comfortable and secure, and all of the feelings that you want. You know, the feeling of freedom and joy and relationship, beauty, efficiency, kindness, love, cooperation, all of those things you want to feel, right? Those vibrations that you want to feel. And then you actually desire a physical landscape that matches those feelings, right? Well, you don't have to orchestrate it from the outside. You don't have to force the conditions. It's just like the analogy of the mirror. The universe is a mirror. It's a fractal mirror. Every one of us, if you're old enough, has heard echoes of such things. But what does it mean? You don't know what it means. What it is the universe is a mirror all the way down to the ground, and it's mirroring you. The whole thing is mirroring you all the way down to the ground. And if you want the whole thing to be shaped better, be smiling at you, if you will, then you have to, the analogy is you're looking into the mirror and the face that you see is frowning. You can't change that frowning face by forcing the mirror to change. Like you're not realizing that it's you. You keep coming at it with the frown on your face, trying to force the change. The only way to get that frown to go away is you've got to smile. You have to be what it is you want the world to be. If you want it to be kind, if you want it to be nice, if you want it to be open-minded, if you want it to be efficient, if you want it to be clear, if you want it to be joyful, you're going to have to be that. And eventually, the momentum of what you're doing is going to build enough in your experience, at least, that the material life that surrounds you and your being will start equaling all of those things that you said that you wanted the outside world to be. You have to, you hear it in tritisms, like, be the change you want to see in the world, But then you're still thinking from the outside. Just go and be happy. Go feel the feelings that you want the world to reflect in physicality. And surprisingly, since vibration actually is primary, you have an effect on the world. Your feelings can affect the world. Your imagination can it's because it affects the field, the quantum field, the binary design that you are, the source mind, physical mind, specific mind, overview mind, broader perspective, vibrational, conventional, all of the aspects that you are. They work together in this really amazing way to bring forth the material world in a way that most other beings cannot do in this way. They cannot co-create intentionally with the magnificence of the field around them in quite the same way that human beings can do. And that's what I think we need to embrace. And if you start focusing your mind in that direction and recognizing how capable we really are, instead of focusing all the time on the material, actually figure any way to get your mind off the material reality is a good idea. That's what meditation is all about. It's just a snatch of a moment. If you can get your mind off of your physical reality for any length of time, you will find that your capability of interacting with the physicality is better, is more effective, is more in alignment with how the physicality is actually rolling. It's because it has a good effect on your ability to link up with your own inner being. That's why meditation is such a good idea. Because if you can get your frickin' physical mind to shut up, especially your negative one. Your positive physical mind doesn't actually have to shut up. But can you get your negative one to quit it? And that's why it's a good idea right at the moment to get to have a capability of getting your mind off of physicality, because we are so addicted to the negative aspects of our world. You know, we see doomsday barreling down upon us. How hard is it to get your mind off of that? It's hard to get your mind off of the doomsday barreling down upon us. Doomsday. What doomsday? You know? Well, it all depends. Are you a student of history? Did you have you I am, and if you're wondering where my mindset comes from, maybe so I'm a boomer, right? Which means I was raised by the greatest generation. I was raised by people who fought World War II. And it matters because even if you are a millennial, well, a millennial was still raised by a boomer. And so there's, when you get a little farther removed from the situation, then the generational trauma involved in our beliefs about the world and our slant our own upbringing and all that, it gets a little farther, 6 degrees past or whatever instead of right there. But we are all carrying generational trauma. Every single one of us, as long as we still live in a world where war is going on and the sixth mass extinction is still underway and children are still starving and we still do not know who we are, as long as that's still happening, then generational trauma is still perpetuating. We're echoing it down the line because it all goes to the fact that we don't know who we are. The fact that we fought that war was because we believed in an us and them paradigm, because we did not understand our actual nature, that our actual nature is us and them. And then the true position is to stand in the middle and to see both of the polarities. And as soon as you do that, it diffuses both of them and you quit fighting on one side against the other side. You just go, oh, I see what we are. It's how come it's the meaning of Bashar's little 1, 3, 5, 7, 11. I still need to know what the 11 is. I don't know what his 11 aspects of joy are or whatever, because his formula has you following your bliss, and he has a particular way that you are in any given moment, in any given frame of your experience, whatever direction contains the highest level of that feeling of elevation within you, passion we call it, whatever contains that, follow it. And then, but you can't just translate it in one moment with your physical mind and then follow it forevermore from the auspices of your physical mind and expect to get it right. That's not how you do it. You have to follow it in the next moment where that feeling of your passion still is. It's not, okay, my passion, so this is how you shouldn't do it. You translate with your physical mind, my passion is painting. My passion is painting. And then you follow painting. Even when sometimes what you're doing is not following the highest degree of passion in any given moment. Sometimes you are in agony, you're suffering, you feel so bad, everything's dark and terrible. Oh, but I'm following my bliss. No, you're not. If you followed your bliss, you would actually stay blissful. It's when you translate it with your physical mind and then go off, following your bliss translated by your physical mind. No, keep following the feeling of it. Keep following where it feels good. If you are in darkness following your bliss, you're not following your bliss. So, the formula is 1, 3, 5, 7. Let's just go 1, 3, 5, 7. We'll leave 11 alone because I don't know what that is. The 1 is the allness that we are all a part of. And I talk about that all the time. The Almighty, the great Almighty, the allness, the oneness, the holographic, enterprise that we are all engaged in. And our discussions about who am I are just, we're talking about how our equipment works and how to achieve success in one's lifetime. And what does success equals? Success equals happiness. Success equals joy. Success equals taking care of one's needs and not harming the needs of others. Success equals achieving what you wanted to achieve, finding a way to go in the direction of that which you wanted to go. Building webs and nets of love and friendship as you go. All that kind of thing. Now you may think that success equals something else. He who dies with the most toys wins. Maybe that's success. But I don't agree. If it doesn't include happiness, you have not been successful. If it does not include feeling good, you were not successful. You did not follow the guidance that your inner being was trying to give you on how to live your life. Here's the emotional guidance system. I always bring that up so that we can refer to it with understanding. I also bring this picture up to somewhere in the discussion. I show that just in case you haven't been a student, or in case you aren't my one regular viewer. I don't know who you are, but whoever you are, I know I love you. I do. I love you, not just because you're listening to me, but you are undoubtedly someone I know, because I have given this to no one else except for people that I know and love, by the way. So I know I love you. So if you're a regular, you know what this one is. This is source mind and you mind. This is the two of you, and imagine them as spinning vortices. Your source mind is already attracting for you in a law of attraction manner everything that you would ever need to to fulfill the 7 needs. So let's go back to that. 1, 3, 5, 7. These are important. The first one is the allness, the Almighty, the One. And then when you go to two vantage points, you actually have something else funny happens. When you go to 2, that's sort of the polar opposites. But it always implies that the actual stance is a middle center. So the 2 goes immediately to 3, the Trinity, the vantage point of the triad, as the polarities give forth an implication of a center point in between them. And that's actually where you stand. You stand in the center, and then you can see both sides of the polarity. And now, all of a sudden, you aren't tricked by either one of the freaking political parties anymore. Because you can see the center, down the center of both of them. And you know what? They both actually have a point about something. We are inextricably one. The we party, the one who's always trying to get us to do it all together. Let's get more centralized government. Let's have everybody more dependent upon the supply chain and the whatever it is. We're all dependent on each other anyway. Did you know that? We are totally dependent on each other right now. There is no independent supply chain out there. You can't plug into an independent supply chain, because ultimately one of the supplies we got going on is energy. And there's no independent supply chain for energy. There could have been incrementally. We could have just incrementally whittled our way off of and away from fossil fuels while we came to more clearly understand source energy itself. That's the big kahuna, by the way. That's the that's the holy grail. That's the one we want to plug into. But until then, there are 1,000 jillion energy saving and energy creating ideas. The reason that over unity devices are possible when physics says that they can't be possible, the reason that they are possible is that there is no such thing as a closed system. That's why they're possible. In physics, the only way that they would be impossible is if you could close the system. In a closed system, there is no such thing as an over unity device, a device that puts out more energy than you put into it to run it. If it was a closed system, that would be impossible, but there is no such thing as a closed system, and that's why over unity devices are possible. In spite of the fact that conventional education tries to tell us that they are not possible. And most people are not savvy enough when it comes to quantum physics or physics in general to challenge such a thing. And the physics people, the ones who finish the courses and have the degrees in physics, they want the jobs in conventional physics, and so they don't question it either. And the fools who do question it and realize at some point over the last century, who have realized it over the last century and developed a device, they were silenced in different ways. And so the first thing that I put in my description, the links that I have that I was trying to tell you is in my description, because I don't know where else to put them because I'm not all that tech savvy. The first one is the link to the movie The Lost Century and How to Reclaim It. Please watch it. Please take what you can out of it. If there's things in there that you see, that you feel deeply and resonate with, take that, even if there are other things that are too wild yet for you to accept. The extraterrestrial stuff, if you're not quite there yet, I don't know. I've sort of checked out to what my people have been believing and thinking, for the last 6 years, because I've been trying to get a handle on my own mind. I haven't wanted to click back completely into the collective mind yet, because last time I checked we were insane. And so I wanted to go find my own sanity first, and then I'll come back and try incrementally to click back in, but I don't want to overwhelm myself with the insanity around me. I want to hold my own coherence. So that's the first thing I link to. The second thing I link to, let me just go find this real quickly, and then it's easier for me to let's see. I don't know how to get to I could pretend like I'm creating something, but I'm not going to. Actually, I don't want to do that. I don't know. The Lost Century and How to Reclaim It. Let's do this. The Lost Century, okay. That's the first thing I linked to. And then the Origin of Mass and the Nature of Gravity video. Then Quantum Revolution, the first episode of the 12-part Gaia series. Then Butterfly Dreaming, that's just an article written by Paul Levy. And at awakeninthedream.com. And then Origin of Mass and the Nature of Gravity paper, in case you wanted to see the paper that video was describing. In my shows, very often, I will put up the links to... I have slides like this, I just screenshot captured this stuff. Now, part of what I'm trying to describe, because, so why do I say the things that I say? What is the nature of the universe? Why does it matter that it's holographic? Why does it matter that it's made of Plancks? Why does it matter that we are a Planck field? And this quantum field, this divine matrix, this ether, this superfluid, this divine plasma that we are made of. Why does it matter? It matters because it is exchanging its own information. It has a way, all of the small parts have a way of uploading their information to the whole. And then that information is picked up at different levels and different scales and run with. So you have more access to the information that is in your immediate field, because that's what you need more access to, but you actually have all the information of all of the rest of the universe. You have it. You have it every moment. It's updated. All of the parts all over across the field are uploading their information to the whole. The whole is downloading its information to the parts. If you've heard this before, please forgive me. It matters. It matters. It's doing it vibrationally. It's doing it because all the Plancks are jiggling together. And the actual density of this universe is it's the Planck density. So I've been trying to visualize this myself too, because I hear what Nassim says that he did in order to get all of the correct mathematics. He takes a Planck, the size of it and the density that it is at the Planck scale. And he takes that little Planck and that density and blows it up to the cosmological size, getting the universe that you see, right? And interestingly enough, all of the numbers that he gets when you do that are the correct numbers. But it's not just the mass number that we think of as the known mass in the universe, and then all the dark mass in the universe. All the matter we know, and then all the dark matter. All the energy we know, and all the dark energy. He gets instead what that number would be if you didn't have to fudge it. If there wasn't a dark matter and a dark energy, you get what the two of them added up together actually equal. So add the dark matter and the light matter, add it all together. What's that mass? That's the mass you get when you take a Planck at 10 to the 93 density, and the size a Planck is, and then blow it up to the size of the universe. You get the density and size and all of the matter in the universe. It's the right number without the dark matter. It's just the right answer. You get the 10 to the minus 30 cosmological density, for one thing. What am I saying? I don't even know how to understand what all of that means, because it still is a mind blower, that the Planck and the universal has that kind of a relationship with one another. As a matter of fact, in the episode of that series, Quantum Revolution, where he talks about a new model for the Big Bang. It was a Big Bang. It was a really, really dense Planck flinging off through Hawking radiation from another universe into this density, going boom with a big bang as it hits this really not dense space. How does that work? If I know. If you know me, you also know that I have a hard time using the F word. I can say damn and shit and hell sometimes, but the F word, I have a hard time saying it, and then it just doesn't sound authentic to me. It sounds like I'm trying too hard to be cool. Here's the rest of my slides, and I would encourage you to watch the 37-minute video describing this paper. I did captured all of these, and there is so much more. It's enough to make your eyes spin. This I captured from the paper, which I also have put the link to the paper itself, if you want to check out where that video came from. I like this one. It shows us the Planck units, where a Planck unit actually comes from. You take a packet of light, because everything is made of Plancks, and a Planck is a packet of light going at the speed of light, crossing its own diameter. It's that small of a bit of a packet of light. It's that small. And the length that it goes, that's the Planck length. The time that it takes to do that is the Planck time. And since energy and mass have an equation, that's the mass equivalent of that little blip, that Planck. That's what a Planck is. And that's what the universe is made of. That's what you're made of. You are the Planck field. You are a field phenomenon. And what's going to go down politically is going to involve more than just you, by the way. That's why I'm pretty sure that there is a field thing that's going to go down. Now, how it goes down and what comes of it, whether on the other side of it, instead of us, coming out from underneath another load of World War II kind of rubble after we all fight each other again, or whether on the other side of it we all go, wow, we understand who we are now. Depends on how well we all get out ahead of this and fend off this storm of chaos coming down the pike. And you don't have to see it as a bad thing. As a matter of fact, don't see anything as a bad thing. There is nothing that is a bad thing. Even the most horrible bad things are not bad things. Now, having said that, I prefer the really good things, the beautiful, loving, kind things, the co-creative, abundant, safe, beautiful. I already said beautiful, but it's worth saying twice. Those kind of things are the kinds of things I prefer. Although even the dark things have their purpose. It turns out we get a lot more darkness when we do not understand ourselves and allow our machinery to operate out of alignment. It's our out of alignment that's causing hell. It's causing the psychic suffering that human beings undergo. When they disconnect from their source, it is suffering beyond imagining. You need to be plugged into your source. How do you plug into your source? Well, you got to hit thoughts that are of a frequency that is compatible with the frequencies of the thoughts your source is taking. Which means you've got to find a way to go positive. Quit believing your negative mind. It's not primary. It doesn't know what the F it's talking about. It has data and information in there that is valuable information, but you've got to transmute it first. You can't take it literally. You can't take it without a grain of salt. You can't take your negative mind at face value. You have to transmute it into the positive first, then add it into the whole picture, and now you've got the real picture. You only see the rest of the world truly when you love it. You only see your neighbor, your misbehaving neighbor, truly when you love him. And he's very hard to love, so most people don't see it. So who am I? Who am I? Where do I want to go from here? I'm just past the hour mark. I don't have to go on and on and on every day. I should just go as far as I am inspired to say things that feel new to me. You know, I have my fan base. You know, I can just start from here. Anybody if they really want to know what I'm talking about, they can start at the beginning. The show, you know, it's going to evolve. Who am I? Who are you? Who are you, and what are you doing in your life? How are you following your bliss? How are things turning out for you? As Abraham says, there's 2 ways you can tell how you are doing vibrationally. Since it's a vibrational world and you are a vibrational being and you have 2 minds, one is your purely vibrational mind, which is purely vibrationally connected to all things. Now, it's almost a misnomer to say this is your vibrational self, because your vibrational mind, because both of your minds in a way are vibrational, but one is the vibrational aspect connected to your physical brain, your physical mind, the one connected to your physical person. There's that mind. It's vibrational too, by the way. But then there's your other one, who is connected only to your vibrational self, your inner being, the frequency of that information coming in across all your atomic structure. The one that is recording always through the constant jiggle of interacting with everything interacting with everything all the time, is transferring the information of all things across the field through this cosmic jiggle of space-time. You are connected to all things. And your inner being is reading that, and it knows everything. Quit trying to argue with your inner being, who is love, who is joy, who knows that you are secure, who knows that nothing can hurt you, because you are so much bigger than you think you are. You are not just the one body, you are all bodies. And that one body is like a cell within your body. And you know what? Every one of your cells has individual consciousness too, just like you have. You are an amalgamation. You're like a consortium, a consensus of my 50 to 100 trillion beings I am. I am 50 to 100 trillion individuated, divinely autonomous consciousnesses, all of them having come together as one being me. Now, in the olden days, I'm talking really olden days, like as Earth was forming, as life was forming on planet Earth, what happened was it first developed into single-celled organisms until those single-celled organisms got as complex as they could be as single-celled organisms. And the way they had to advance complexity is they had to band together and agree collectively to specialize in different ways to accomplish all of the different functions you have in your whole being. Every one of your cells has the same functions as your whole being. All the systems, respiratory system, circulatory system, reproductive system, excretion system, a system for expelling waste products, a system for what other systems? All the systems. All your cells are miniature yous, and they have all come together to this higher you that you are. And humanity's fixing to do the same thing. So each of the parts, all of the units have evolved so that they are what they are. The next level of evolution is us coming together as a single being. But you gotta realize that where we meet is at source energy, not on the physical plane. We meet at source energy, and then every individual is free to do what source impulses him to do, because source is the only one who knows how to orchestrate us. Source is the only one who knows how to organize us. Now, there's a lot of people talking about stuff like this on this planet, but most of them are talking about it in terms of superstitious religious nonsense, as they talk about God organizing us, and then they attribute to God all kinds of emotions, both light and dark, both angry and loving, both kind and they're getting it confused. They're getting confused the difference between human emotion and the emotions of their higher being. Their higher being only knows goodness. Your higher being is only love, knows everything, loves everything. Where have we heard this before? God is love. God is omniscient and omnipotent and omniscient. Well, the omnipotent part, it's both correct and not correct. Of course it's correct. God is doing everything. God is creating everything. So of course God can do anything because God's is doing everything that's being done. What God can't do is God cannot change what the setup is. God cannot. So there's the 5 rule: 1, 3, 5, 7. Let's go back to that. The 1 is the allness. The 3 is the vantage point in the center combined with the 2 polarities on the sides. So you jump from the 1 to the 3. And then the 5 is the 5 things you cannot change. You exist, you can't change that. Actually, I can't remember what all the 5 things that you can't change. Everything changes, you can't change that. The setup never changes, you can't change that. That's 3 of them. There's 2 more. They're kind of like that. The 7 are your 7 needs, and if you would learn to want your needs, you would have no trouble whatsoever. Then your desires and your wants, your desires and your needs would be in complete alignment with one another. Then you could start embellishing them from that vantage point. You could make them more creative, more comfortable, more beautiful, more secure, more all of those things. But just want what you need. Always want what you need. Don't want things that you don't need. What do you need? And this is in the order of the time that it takes for them to kill you if you don't have them. The 7th one actually will kill you eventually if you don't have this, but it'll kill you quite slowly. It will just rob you of your life energy until you just go still. And then that energy goes off and expresses in some other way. So the first one goes air, water, sleep, food, shelter. Shelter just meaning a sheltering environment of some sort. It doesn't have to mean all the way to a house. It just means an environment conducive to life support, a sheltering environment, relationship, and expression. Those are the 7 things you need. So if those 7 things are what you want, and you know what? At this time on planet Earth, you can actually, in consciousness, start consciously wanting even the first 2. They are not just givens anymore, because human activity is befouling the nest. We are dirtying our air and we are dirtying our water, and so it is valid now to, in our conscious frame of mind, pull in air. I want clean air. I want clean water. I want sleep. Actually, I don't know how I get that one really profoundly. Food, shelter. So a lot of what I do has to do with finding myself food, following the impulses to go forth to the grocery store, get myself food, bring it home, cook it, serve it up to me and my husband. A lot of my impulse of activity has to do with grooming and making our shelter more stable, more secure, so that if power goes down, I'm prepared for that. Uh, what other things? I live in a warm climate, so we got to keep the air conditioning in order. The electrical systems have to be in order. I'm starting to be uncomfortable about. I know where my fuel is coming from. It's all based on fossil fuel and the kinds of fossil fuel based energy extractions, and I know that it's not sustainable. So I'm starting to feel the need to express myself here. Get out ahead of this, because at some point we really need to get off fossil fuels. I think we can do it. I think we can do it if we understand source energy. That's the big kahuna. But we can do it in incremental ways if we would bust open, if we would see our government for what it is, for both what it is and what it isn't. You know? Don't push back against it. I'm not suggesting pushing back against what you don't like. I am suggesting that you see the situation in clarity for what it truly is, and then select what excites you, what interests you in this whole thing. Because when you see how big and how cool and how profoundly dangerous some things are, and how on the brink of, I mean, the drama is just eye-popping in a way. But you can play this. You don't have to be afraid. Your inner being will guide you through. Will guide you through to your highest assistance to the field around you, to the highest satisfaction and relationship and expression in your life. Whatever it is that you want, it will bring you to what you want. So this brings us to full circle. Back earlier I was talking about the dangers of being objective. The problem with being objective, as you look at the positive and then look at the negative, and then look at the positive and then look at the negative. Now you want to be looking at that at first, or at least for a bit, because you need to understand that there is both in this world. There is positive, there is negative. And as a matter of fact, the negative can get quite out of hand. As my being raised by people who fought World War II transferred to me an understanding of, yes, it can get quite bad. It can go all the way to Holocaust levels. It can go all the way to the freaking horrors going on in the South Pacific. My own father fought in the South Pacific. But my intellectual curiosity had to do mostly with the psychological phenomenon of Nazis. How the hell did that happen? What is that? You could feel the spirit of them. There was something energetically, something in the frequency that they held and conveyed and, resonated with. There's something about that frequency. You could feel it. It's a difference. It's a frequency. If you want to understand the world, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. If you want to understand psychology, you got to understand it in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. And I'll tell you what, when you are around certain mindsets, you can feel their frequency. You can feel their offness, their chaotic rage, their destructive power, their Shiva energy. That's a pet thing I like to pull in, Shiva energy. What's Shiva energy? It's that destructive force. What is it? We create it when we go negative because we do not understand our binary self. We create this contrary energy. We create the hell on earth. We create this, the psychological mindset that puts us in hell. It's a not understanding of something. Now, Paul Levy would call it Wetiko. He calls it a psychic mind virus. And he also maintains that quantum physics is the gift that will help us crack the code, that will help us beat Wetiko. It contains the antivirus, if you will, quantum physics, and I would have to agree with him because it's kind of what I'm describing when I say it matters that we are made of Plancks. These Plancks are the quanta of quantum physics. This is why it matters. This field matters. What frequencies you are choosing to plug into, you are a transmitter and a receiver, girl. You are, or boy, or whoever you are. You are a transmitter and a receiver. Your mind is not actually manufacturing the thoughts that you're... They may be kind of original, but remember you are a two-pronged being. And this inner being that you have access to, which is anything that you're getting in your imagination is a download, is a kind of a connection coming through from your big, broader perspective. And your broader perspective is connected to more than just you. So these downloads could be happening to other people. How they are translating it, they could be translating it slightly different because you have an original spot on your... You are original. The place that you occupy on the grid is determining a lot of your originality in your output, in your form. Who am I? Who am I? You can really get into esoteric flights of fancy. I like to pull this one up because this one is an explanation of your brakes and your accelerator. When you go to the specific, you're putting on the accelerator. When you pull back to the general, you're putting on the brakes. You don't actually ever want to put on the accelerator unless you are in a positive position. If you are in a negative position, stay general. Now, sometimes you have to go a little bit specific in order to clarify. Go a little negative, but don't get caught up in it. Don't be transfixed by your negative side. Don't get lost in it. Don't be fooled by it. It's not real. It does not have supremacy. It tries to make you believe that it does. It tries to make you believe that if you let go of your negative mind, you will die. You will die. You will immediately be fooled by the tricksters on the corner. The artful dodgers and whatnot will take your gullible, fresh off the turnip truck self and take advantage of you. And that's true. That can happen. But I espouse a position that is not naive. You cannot be naive about how far south things go. Things can go so far south. They can get, if you do not understand who you are and you take your negative mind literally and you play out the us and them paradigm, you play out subtraction consciousness all the way to its logical conclusion, you end up with things like the Third Reich's final solution and the Holocaust. That's where it will take you. It will take you all the way to there. Now, we don't really need to do that again, do we, people? Do we need to do that again? I do not think we need to do that again because we played it out, and it's important that we played it out because we need to know who we are. We need to know how this runs. But we've seen that, and we know exactly how this play goes. And so put that in your pipe and smoke it. That is part of what you need to always be aware of. Don't be naive. Don't be naive as you turn Pollyanna or Don Quixote. Be Don Quixote, but don't be naive about it. Understand what you're doing and do it on purpose, knowing that you are making the world a better place as you see Aldonza as Dulcinea. You are actually making it a better place. Anyway, yada yada yada. What else shall we say? I bring in this one, the 5 kleshas. This is a really big foundational pillar of the Buddhist philosophy. They are considered, the root cause of all suffering is considered to be not knowing what's real. Essentially, not knowing what is real. What is real? The Planck field is real, and it can come into any form it wants to be. And it flies on the wings of desire. And it's the desire of all things in the field. And what do all things in the field desire? That all of their needs be met. All 7 of their needs be met. In physicality, that's what the physicality of physical biology is leaning towards at all times. Clean air, clean water, food for all of us, secure shelter, and a sheltering environment that allows adequate sleep. I didn't put those in the same order, but it's because it's hard to describe them as a need in the right order. And then the desire to see ourselves reflected everywhere, because we are a reflection. If we cannot see our reflection, then we feel absolute emptiness. We must have relationship, and then after that, we need to express ourselves. Anyway, not knowing what's real. Not knowing what's real. Not knowing who am I. So down here on number 4, you see identifying with an imaginary self. I see it more as overly, the problem as mostly being overly identifying with your expirational self. When you think that's all you are, when you think that your expirational self, that self made of meat, that mind in a brain skull, and you know what skulls look like after the person leaves them. They're grim and horrible. With their skull teeth grinning back at you. When you overly identify with that aspect of yourself, no wonder you start feeling frightened in this world. But you know what? If you would put your identification muscle, if you would plug, you gotta plug. It's a plug. It's a plug, and where that plug is wherever you are when you finish the words, I am blank. That's where that plug is. What are you plugging it into? I am made of vulnerable physical material that is passing. I am expirational. I am expirational. And in another 20 years, 30, 40 years, I will be no more. I am. Every time you fill that out, it is implying which direction you're flowing. It's also a physical plug or a metaphysical plug. I'm not sure exactly what it is. How do you finish it? If you say I am and the answer is something in the world of form, then you start to feel insecure, because the rule is the form always changes. You cannot fix the form into an unchangeable shape. Well, you could only if you could lock your consciousness onto it, because every single second it's becoming something new. It would just look like the same exact thing forever if you could lock your consciousness in one place and never move it. Now, you can't really do that either. The form changes. So when you plug your I am into anything in the field to the world of form, you immediately feel insecure. Isn't that interesting? Where that I am goes really, who you really are, who I really am, is this Planck field that can become anything it wants. And I am that forever and ever and ever and ever. My consciousness right now, I have been elected as the spokesperson for 100 trillion souls. And how well I caretake that will probably determine whether they continue allowing me to caretake or whether I sort of, fall back into a more individual self. One of the little tiny, I don't know, you could probably disintegrate. You could scatter to a smaller vantage point if you did not, if you were not a good spokesperson for the best interests of the group. It's possible. I don't know. I do know that whatever it is, it's all right. It's all right. So let's see. I'm an hour and 20 minutes in. I think I've done a good job. I have kind of mentioned everything. I've mentioned also what I'm attaching to this video, and I did it early, so that's great. I didn't really talk about our design as neocortex and the fact that I think we've been genetically modified, and where that information is, just that little bit of information, that the evidence that I think that I have that implies that we have been genetically modified. Also, I think that my discussions here also add credence to the fact that we have been genetically modified, because I'm discussing what our design is. And the fact that our emotions, our complex, higher human emotions, actually speak to the physical quantum field of matter. We speak to the material world. And it has an influence on how matter is coming into being, how this rolling world of manifestation is manifesting. I have to believe that this was not done accidentally. This is not a great big fluke. Somebody bumped us ahead of our incremental evolutionary timeline. They bumped us. And from what I understand, or what I've heard, and it makes sense to me, those who did it to us did it against their own laws, and now they are faced with babysitting us forevermore. They got to kind of watch us and make sure that we develop, that we get past the hump. That hump, I believe, is from not knowing who we are to knowing who we are. Because when you know who you are, you integrate with the rest of the system harmonically. When you don't know who you are, you don't. You integrate with the rest of the system chaotically. You summon demons. You create Shiva energy. You do all kinds of things, in my vernacular, that create chaos and disorder. I'm going to leave us with Nassim Haramein's quote. If you're a regular, you've already heard this before, but I love it. It has to do with how you are clicking into morphogenetic fields of information as you go within yourself and click in to the center of yourself. As you go inwards, laying aside your negative mind, you just let that go quiet, and you go into the center of the center of the center of yourself. You start clicking into greater and greater morphogenetic fields of information. And this is Nassim's quote. He says, when you integrate yourself as a biological being, you connect with the morphogenetic field of the planet. When you integrate yourself at the atomic level, you connect with the solar system. At the level of the proton, you integrate with the galaxy, and when you get all the way down to the Planck, you integrate with the universe. And that's truly what is happening. And that's how come we don't really have to worry about this dystopian interstellar, intergalactic Federation world of warring planets and territorialism and all that kind of stuff as we try to motor our way physically around a physical universe, because that's not going to be the way it works. When you understand what the universe really is, then you understand that the ticket to connecting with the rest of it is a frequency. It's a frequency of connection, and it's a frequency of peace, and it's a frequency of cooperation like you have not, like we on planet Earth have never experienced. And our first step is going to be experiencing it with one another. That peace on earth, goodwill toward men moment. I don't pretend it's going to be any time immediately in the future, but I do now believe that it is coming, because it's going to come when we understand who we are. We're just going to give it up. We're going to give up the resistance. Resistance is futile. Resistance is actually what's the problem. God is orchestrating us. It is flowing us in a beneficial direction. If we would quit acting on our fears and acting on our negative emotions, we would get there a lot quicker, you know? So with that, I think I'm going to end for the day. I'm over an hour and a half. That's a decent amount of time. I didn't do the rest of this. Let's see. There's that. I did do the emotional guidance scale. I did everything. So I'm glad you were with me again today for our little morning oral meditation as we go into the structure of our minds and the structure of our society and the structure of our history, the structure of our species. Who am I? Who are we? What the hell are we doing here? How did we get here? And what do we do about it now? How do we be successful? First of all, I think we need to get off fossil fuels. The burning of it is largely what is disrupting the physical systems on the planet. It is poisoning our mother Gaia. It is. And so we need to do that. It's also going to diffuse the tendency to centralized systems. And the universe of the Dr. Evil and the autocrat and whatever, that sort of paradigm, it will diffuse that also. So tomorrow we'll come back into the same space and we'll talk about it again. Who am I? Who am I? And what do we do next? Well, there is only one answer. Get into alignment and then follow the impulse that your source gives you from a joyful place. There isn't any other answer than that. Until tomorrow, I hope you'll join me again. I bid you peace, and may the source be with you.